Dispatch to 139 Adam. Dispatch to 139 Adam. This is the final call for Unit 139 Adam. Officer Jason Ellis. Officer Ellis served the Bardstown Police Department and the citizens of Bardstown with honor, integrity, and distinction. Unit 139 Adam is out of service. He has gone home. May he rest in peace.
Hi, I'm Holly, and with my sister Heather, you're listening to Haunted Family Podcast, a weekly podcast about the paranormal, unsolved mysteries, and even some true crime.
We are back after a kind of a long, unexpected pause.
Yes, for our 100th anniversary episode. 100 episode, not anniversary.
Did you think we was going to make it to 100 episodes?
No, actually, I thought that we were never going to record again and we were going to be stuck at 99 forever.
Well, I have to say that pretty much everyone who knows us did not think we was going to make it to 100 episodes. They didn't think we was going to make it to like 20 episodes.
Some days I didn't think we were going to make it to 20 episodes.
I didn't think we was going to make it to 20 episodes either. That first year was rough.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we are back. Holly's life has been busy. She's got, a teenage daughter. Apparently teenage daughters are like high maintenance. Yeah, but one of them actually lives with you.
One of them is here all the time. Also. Like she's here right now. This episode is huge.
It is huge. I don't know if we'll actually be able to make it through all of this episode in like one episode.
Right. Because it's a lot and it spans several years.
And several people.
Yes.
You listen to the start of our episode, so I'm sure most of you who follow true crime know what we're talking about. Those handful of people who live in Kentucky are like, oh crap, they're doing that.
Yeah, we don't cover Kentucky a lot, except Stupid Criminals. We cover Kentucky a lot in Stupid Criminals, but we don't normally cover cases in Kentucky, which is weird because we're here. But this case is fairly local. There's actually ties to my town. It's just I have a mug in my shop and it says welcome to the shit show, and that pretty much sums up this case. Welcome to the shit show. Or case, I guess I should say cases, because there's actually may or may not be a connection.
I think there are.
I do too, but may or may not be a connection.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay. Well, actually, the beginning is not. Okay. Most people think the beginning is Jason Ellis. But actually, a year before that murder, which we'll get to, and that's what you heard in our opening, there was a death that was weird and had not been attributed to the other cases we'll talk about until fairly recently. So Daniel Cahoe was an identical twin, and he was kind of just one of those happy-go-lucky drifter, odd job kind of guy,
which
walked
we have
everywhere.
We have a lot in this area.
We do. He was just a good guy that by all accounts, didn't really do anything. Maybe smoke some pot. But
Yeah, he kind of reminded me of when I first started reading about him.
Our Uncle Mike.
Well, no, I was kind of thinking, buy me a hot dog, son. Buy me a hot dog, son.
Yes. Oh,
I can't remember that guy's name.
I can't either. But growing up in Painesville, there was this guy, and he would go to every ball game, and people would pay for him to go into the ball games, and he would say, "Hey, buy me a hot dog, son." And when I was in high school, people just thought that was so funny, so we made up the little "Buy Me a Hot Dog, Son" song.
But then it turned out he actually had a lot of money.
Yes, and nobody knew that until he died. And yeah, he had a lot of money. He was just one of those guys that's kind of a fixture of the town. Well, that's how Daniel Cahill was. He was just a fixture in the town. He worked probably for about 10 years part-time, doing anything that Boone's Butcher Shop needed him to do. From, sweeping and mopping to dealing with customers or, just whatever. Well, that wasn't the weird thing about him. So, But
let's face it. It's Kentucky. There's something weird about all of us.
That is true. So New Year's Eve.
We're going to get angry mails from those 5 people from Kentucky that listen to us. I'm not weird. Yeah, you are.
Yes, you are, honey. Okay, so New Year's Eve, 2011, that his twin brother got shot, but survived. And reports say that it was a domestic altercation, and they took him to the hospital in Louisville, which is not far from Bardstown. It's 40 minutes or so.
And Louisville has, really good hospitals.
Bigger hospital. Yeah, like when we do marching band regionals, like when marching band state is at Papa John's Stadium in Louisville, we have our regionals in Bardstown because their school is the same size as ours. We're in the same class. Therefore, that's where our regionals are.
So much better than when they had it at Old Ham.
Yes.
Well, school that doesn't believe in hot chocolate.
Okay. Focus.
Sorry.
We got a lot to get through tonight.
We do.
Okay. So, Daniel's twin brother was shot, and his family couldn't reach him to let him know that his brother was shot. Well, that's because Daniel was shot himself.
Execution style.
I mean, maybe.
Not just shot. He was executed.
Yes. His body was found in a barn in Spencer County.
The coroner estimated that he had been dead for at least a few days.
Yeah, so it probably either happened when his brother survived, they maybe realized they had the wrong person, or I don't know. That's what I'm going with. Because they were identical twins. Although I think their hair was different, so friends knew the difference.
Sometimes it's hard to tell apart twins. If you're not close to them.
I used to work in a church nursery, and we had twins that were not completely identical, and I used to still have to stick stickers on them so that I would know which one was which. So anyway, he had made plans right after Christmas with his dad that they were going to go hunting on June. They were going to go hunting on January the 2nd. So when he wasn't found on January 2nd, that's when the family, started looking for him. He wasn't tied to the Bardstown murders, obviously, because he was found in Spencer County. But for somebody that walked everywhere, the odds of him just walking to Spencer County, slim to none. Somebody had to have transported him there.
My phone is showing me that is in Taylorsville. It would be about a 4-hour and 40-minute walk for him.
Yeah. So, not likely. Although Taylorsville Lake is really cool.
And that's where you got pneumonia once.
It is, yeah. So, his murder was never tied to the other murders we're going to talk about, but I just feel like we need to mention it because it happened January 1st to the 5th, 2012, and it also has never been solved.
We don't get too many execution-style murders in podunk areas of eastern Kentucky. And I think it's also very odd that his brother was also shot.
Right. Although the family says that they don't think that it's connected. But as we will go on in this story and all the coincidences that are happening, I'm just going to tell you I don't believe in coincidence. At least not when crime is taking place.
No. I planned on mentioning this way later in the story, well, in our podcast, but we actually plan on eventually doing a episode on something called the Cornbread Mafia.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners
will because it's insanely fascinating, guys.
It is. One of the country's largest drug operations. And it was based in this area that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It probably has no ties to this case. Because this was busted up years ago. But it is naive for anyone to think that we don't still have major players in the drug world operating in Kentucky.
Right. I mean, we grew up in Van Lear, which is literally the drug capital of our county.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Bardstown.
Bardstown proper to set the stage of what we're dealing with before we jump into Jason Ellis. It's a beautiful little town.
It is, and we'll probably share pictures on our Instagram over the next week because, like I said, we were just there like 2 years ago.
Population is around 13,000 people, so it's small.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the county I live in is 23,000. So
I think it's actually on par with the town I live in.
Yeah, it's so a town that's small enough to have a few elementary schools, a high school or two. Like my county only has one high school, but Heather's County has two. Just close enough that you're going to be separated by people by like 1 or 2 degrees. Almost everybody has a mutual friend.
Yeah. It's like actually a friend of ours posted on Facebook, I'm getting rid of all these people from my Facebook because they don't interact, and then just posted a random list of people. And someone commented, I didn't read to the bottom but I didn't even need to read to the bottom before I knew it was a joke because nobody from Paintsville has this many people that I don't know.
Right.
Because, we all know each other's business.
Yeah.
Bardstown is also our second oldest city in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah. It's also known as the bourbon capital of the world, which I think is kind of funny because you can only get bourbon in Kentucky. So it's really the bourbon capital of Kentucky.
Other places make bourbon, but
they do not.
If you want bourbon,
it's come from Kentucky.
It's got to come from Kentucky.
And Bardstown actually has like 5 distilleries. So you want bourbon, it's probably, or Frankfurt, but it's mostly coming.
There is a place in Bardstown, the old Talbot Tavern, that was built in 1779, and it has played host to Daniel Boone. a little somebody called Abraham Lincoln, who, by the way, was from Kentucky, even though Indiana claims him now, because apparently he lived there for a while.
I thought Illinois claimed him.
Oh, yeah, Illinois. It was one of those I states. Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I was to say Illinois is not a state. Illinois is a state. I was thinking Chicago. Gosh.
It's been a long week.
Yeah.
And Jesse James. Actually, there is bullet holes in a wall upstairs that is reported to be from Jesse James.
And probably so.
Wait, hold on. Was it Jesse James that held a member of Mike's family hostage?
I believe so.
Okay. Don't worry, listeners. It was, everyone left on mutual terms. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably some peeing on themselves, but everybody lived.
Yeah. He just needed a place to hide out for the night.
Okay, so.
Yeah, just a quaint little town. Distilleries in the area include Jim Beam, Heaven Hill, Barton 1792, something called Maker's Mark. I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah, Maker's Mark actually did a commemorative bottle to commemorate Jason Ellis. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. If you have watched the movie or read the book We Were Soldiers Once, I think Mel Gibson was in the movie. Hal Moore is from Bardstown.
Yeah.
It's actually I didn't know that until I pulled up the list of notable people from Bardstown.
It's actually home to my old Kentucky home, which, fun fact, when we were in Bardstown the first time, every little podunk looking building, I said, isn't that my old Kentucky home? Because I have lived here my entire life and I had no fucking clue what it looked like. Heather was like, no, I think that's just a barn.
We need to go there.
Yeah.
Let's make a day of it. We'll visit that cemetery that's on the grounds that has the headstone that apparently keeps toppling over.
Yes, let's. Okay, are we ready to talk about Jason now?
We are. Okay, so.
Okay.
And also, notable residents, he was not from there, but he lived there, was somebody called Jason Ellis.
Right, and so the not from there, I think, is very important. Because Kentucky small towns, including the two that we are from, it's just a Kentucky small town thing. If you were not from there, you are an outsider.
His wife was from there, and him and his wife met in college.
Right. My kids are from here. They've lived here their entire lives. I am not from here, and I will never be from here in the eyes of anybody here. I moved here when I was 18.
Yeah.
And I'm, 43 now. I'll never be from here.
And that's important to remember.
It is. Like, so many people, where are you from? Who you related to? Those are the questions that you get asked. Well, Jason was from Cincinnati. He played baseball for
semi-professional for the Reds Farm League.
Mm-hmm. He met Amy in college, and then he went off to play baseball.
He quit right before their oldest child was born.
Right, and decided to move to her hometown of Bardstown.
Their oldest child, Hunter Ellis, was born with Down syndrome.
And that is
important. Because,
yeah, that's important too.
Yeah. Because that links them to
somebody else. We'll get to all that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jason, at the time of his death, was 33. He was a 7-year veteran of the police department, Bardstown Police Department.
Yeah, he joined the Bardstown Police Department in 2006 because after baseball, his second goal in life was to be a police officer.
He was a damn good police officer. He was the only canine cop
in the county.
In the county. He was a 2-time recipient of a governor's award, and he was the 2008 Officer of the Year award.
Yeah, but
he was good. He was just really good at his job. Everybody said that he was a by the book cop. That you did what you were supposed to do. You know,
being a by the book cop is important.
Yes.
By the book cops don't tend to make enemies with criminals, I will say. I found, and I used to work with the sheriff's office, that most of the time cops like Jason Ellis, they're fair.
They are.
And people
respect that.
Criminals will respect cops who are fair to them. Because, I mean, criminals know that they're criminals. And most criminals know that eventually their time's going to run up and they're going to get caught.
Right. Okay, so another important fact.
By the book cops tend to make enemies of
corrupt cops.
Yes. Or other people in power who could lose that power. See, criminals don't really have much power.
That's true.
I mean, low-level criminals.
Right.
And, you know, that's an important distinction.
So, as a canine cop, he obviously had a dog named Figo who was adorable. Is adorable. He's still alive.
And he had a special car.
He did have a special car because, you know, you got a dog with you.
And his normal patrol car had a dash cam.
Mm-hmm. The one that he was driving on May 25th, 2013 did not have a dash cam, and it was also not his canine cruiser.
No, his car was in the shop for repairs, so his dog was having a staycation at home with his family.
Just chilling on the couch.
Yeah, being loved on with kids, you know, normal stuff. And he was driving a backup car.
Right.
That did not have a dash cam.
Yeah. So he calls in that he's off duty, which we'll listen to in just a second. Calls in that he is off duty and then heads home. And it's a route that he takes every single night that he works.
Yeah, he takes the same route, same exits every single
Bluegrass
night.
Parkway to exit 34 and then home. But on this night...
it takes him about 20 minutes from Bardstown to his house.
On this night, he takes the exit, and in the middle of the road, there's debris. So he stops and is going to move it out of the way.
It's tree limbs.
That were cut, not broken and fallen.
But
that's also important.
You know, and I'm sure in his way of thinking, hey, people haul tree limbs off. Maybe it fell off the back of a truck.
Right.
Because, you know, it's logical to haul things at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. That's always when I haul stuff.
Same.
So he gets out of the car, and he is shot by 2 different caliber bullets. And he is there for...
I think they said approximately 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Before another vehicle, which was a teenage girl, well, a younger girl, I don't know if she was actually a teenager, who was driving home 2 drunk family members. One of them was her mom.
Yeah, she was the DD, being responsible.
Yeah.
And they did not get out of their vehicle. They were scared.
No. The mom said, just pull it behind him and stop. So she did.
So shortly after they come up on the scene, and a man he was working at a distillery and had just got off work.
Yeah, I want to say he would was coming off of shift at Heaven Hill.
Yeah, I wanted to say Heaven Hill too. So
I don't know for sure though. I didn't write that down in my notes.
Anyway, he had just got off work and he was heading home, and he pulls up behind them, and he takes charge.
Yeah, he gets out of his car, walks up to their car, says, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "We don't know." So he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go ask the cop what's going on." And as he's walking up, he notices that the cruiser is empty, and he goes around towards the front of the cruiser where he sees Officer Ellis, and this literally is giving me chills.
Yeah.
Laying near the debris pile.
And he's cold.
Yeah. He hollers back at the women to call 911.
On the officers.
Yeah, I don't actually know if any of the women in the car had a cell phone. But the drunk mama...
Yes.
I actually never caught her name in any of my notes.
I haven't either, but you'll hear, it's so funny.
Because she's trying her best, she's drunk.
And you know that she sounds scared to even be using his radio.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think sober me would probably be a little scared to, crawl into a cruiser and use it.
I've been in the back of a cruiser before, so I mean, I
have too, but we was going to lunch.
I was not. I was being taken home.
I
mean, I did not do anything wrong, guys. I was just being taken home.
But no, so the mom gets into the cruiser and she starts radioing officer down, and she's trying to give them her location.
Yeah, hold on. We'll just stop right here and we'll play the audio, and we'll be back in like 2
Look at
seconds.
you getting all fancy being able to insert stuff.
I know. Woo, look at me. Anyway, here we go.
139, fine.
139 off duty, 0200.
Hello? Officer down, Bluefield Road. Station. Officer down. You need to give us a location. Bluefield Road by the Y. There's been a tree limb or something. Officer down, please emergency.
Dispatch 126, 122, 137. Can you start that way?
Glad I'm on Bloomfield Road and towards Old Bloomfield Road. Towards the BG. Oh, 122, 126. Where did you say you were? I'm on Bloomfield Road. That's Chaparral Estate.
Ma'am, can you advise the status of the officer? Is he conscious?
I believe he's dead. He's cold. Oh my God, are they coming?
Yes, ma'am. We do have officers en route. Can you tell us what the name on the side of the car is, what department he is with? And can you advise if this is going to be a car accident or if this is just a vehicle versus tree or what is going to happen?
Yes, sir. Hey, this is Chad Monroe. I know Mike Clark personally. I mean, I can tell him exactly where I'm at. We're on the BG Parkway. We're coming from Bardstown, getting off on the Springfield exit.
I mean, is this going to be a car accident? Is there another vehicle involved, or is it just one vehicle versus a tree, or what?
I've come home from Heaven Hill Distillery. I've just got off work, and there was the police car is sitting in the middle of the road with the lights on, and we didn't know what it was. It's a tree across the road, and I didn't know what it was, and I got out and I went up there and looked, and it's him. I believe somebody's hit him.
Okay, can you tell if he is breathing?
No, sir, he is not breathing. Body temperature is cold. Dispatch, have you already got EMS toned out that way?
That's correct. We've got EMS started.
4446 unsafe.
4446 on 10.
in Oklahoma.
Oh, Brian,
Yes.
this is Sherry out of dispatch. We have a squad call for a coroner. I will believe we have one of our officers down.
Uh-oh.
They are on. We think they're on the off ramp of the Bluegrass at the Bloomfield exit. We had passersby calling in on the officer's radio, and that's where we think they are, on the off ramp at the Bloomfield exit.
All right, on our way.
Okay, thank you.
And we're back. I just want to interject that the guy who comes on and is like, hey, I'll tell you right where we're at. I know such and such. We're good friends. That is such a Kentucky thing. And that goes back to what I was saying about from here, is that for whatever reason, people feel the need to let you know who they know.
Yes. It's like it gives validation and credit to what they're about to say.
Right. Even though I don't know that you needed any validation to say there's a dead body.
Yeah.
The police chief at the time, whose name was McCubbin, he vows that they are going to find the guy or the responsible party that did it. And, this is all over the news. Local news. Local news to me comes out of Lexington. And so, we're getting it all the time. It's like you can't turn on any news thing without hearing about the search for the person who did this. Only it's pretty cold.
We've had other officers shot in Kentucky, and normally it's like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's like a firestorm descends as soon as it happens, and
they don't give up until it's solved.
Yeah.
In this case, Kentucky State Police came in.
We had a officer killed in Pike County a couple years ago, and they were chasing people through creeks.
Yeah.
And this was I think it was cold weather too. Did not give up until they found every single person who even looked at the person who killed that officer that morning. But this case seemed to have just went ice cold super quick.
Yeah. Well, we did have somebody confess. Brant Shekels claimed that he killed Officer Ellis as part of his ties with the Bardstown Money Gang. Please do not laugh. They even have a music video to legitimize themselves.
Oh my God, it is the funniest thing.
It is. I'm going to put a
ever.
Link to it. I'm putting a link to the Bardstown Money Gang music video because everybody needs to see that.
However, I don't want to make an enemy of the Bardstown Money Gang, but y'all are funny.
Yeah, that was legit. I don't know why you guys don't have a record contract yet. Anyway, so Brant Shekels confessed. Literally nothing happened. Why, you may ask? Well, I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that his uncle was Mayor Bill Shekels. Now, Bill Shekels said, you can't choose your family, and if it turns out that Brent had anything to do with it, he will be prosecuted.
Lord, we know all about not being able to choose your family.
Yes, we do. But you know what? If my family actually did something, I would prosecute them. But nothing happened. They said there was not enough evidence, even though the person confessed.
Yeah.
And not, this is not a under interrogation, you confessed because the situation was bad. No, he told multiple people on different occasions that he killed him. I don't know if he ever got interrogated.
Yeah. The master trooper of the Kentucky State Police said, and I'm paraphrasing, that there are indicators of more than one person being responsible for the murder. And Bardstown Police Chief said the person responsible would require a degree of tactical precision. Which led everybody in the state and everyone following the case to instantly think, well, are we dealing with somebody who's ex-military? Mm-hmm. Are we dealing with another police officer?
True. Although, to be fair, lots of people in Kentucky are expert shots.
Yes, because, I mean, hunting is a way of life in this state.
It is. Listen, my ex spent 11 years in the Air Force, and I outshoot him. And all I've ever had is, shooting at targets in the backyard.
Well, you can't shoot at targets in your backyard now because you have a house behind you.
That is true. My neighbors probably would not like it if I shot their car. But, I go to the range for fun. And although I was going to take a concealed carry class next month, but since Kentucky is kind of like maybe doing away with that, I'm going to hold off on giving them my $60.
But remember, Dad also had us both out shooting when we were toddlers, pretty much.
That's true. Like, from the time that we could pick up a .410, we were shooting.
That's pretty much how every kid in the state of Kentucky learns how to shoot. As early as humanly possible.
Right. I mean, both of my girls can shoot. I can shoot. Hannah can shoot. Honestly, nearly everybody I know can shoot and has multiple guns. It's just, that's just the way of life in Kentucky. So, them saying tactical experience, well, in a state that everybody has a gun and everybody shoots.
Whoever killed Officer Ellis did have one thing. We do know one thing about that person. Or persons.
What's that?
They knew his schedule.
Yes, they did. And they knew that he was not going to be in his K9 car with the camera.
Yes. So either they had a police scanner.
Yep.
Which is common in this state.
It is. Actually, I'm going to buy one because we have a lady in this town that has a scanner and she updates whenever there's anything going on, but she's been really sick and I am a nosy ass, so that's probably what I'm buying myself for my birthday.
Or this was somebody who was close to him.
Mm-hmm.
Either worked with him or
friends with him,
or was just watching him closely. Knew that he took the same exit at the same time every night. And knew that he was out of his regular car, so there would not be a camera on them. This was a well thought out ambush, and it disturbs me that in my eyes the state police and the Bardstown Police Department has let this case go cold, because we had an officer in this state, a very good officer, get ambushed, and they've let this go cold.
Yeah, that should never happen. Unless they're covering for something. And let's talk about the corruption. This whole city has a ton of corruption.
Small town.
So, we're talking
listeners who are outside of Kentucky, who are outside of small towns, probably don't really understand small town corruption. Yeah, big city corruption's bad, but corruption in small town when everybody knows everybody, it's bad. And people are even worse when they know you personally.
A little bit after Jason Ellis's death, a police officer retired. Right, I'm sorry, he resigned. He was put on administrative leave in January of the next year, and then he was just later fired. Forced to resign. And that he resigned, he said, because he didn't want to drag the department through the mud. But I feel like the fact that the investigation was dropped had more to do with it. Because, well, Tony Satterley was his name. And he said he was prescribed hydrocodone for an injury that happened at work. And the whole arrest that led to him being put on leave was a misunderstanding, that he thought that the pills that he had was prescribed by his doctor. Now, I have a friend who is a drug treatment counselor, and I told him how many pills this officer had on him, and his response, and I quote, was, "No fucking way." He had 1,800 hydrocodone tablets and 260 oxycodone tablets that he said was prescribed to him by his doctor. Now, the misunderstanding was that Christy Morris worked for Tony Satterley's doctor, and he would ask her for refills. And he said he assumed that she was getting them from his doctor. She was just forging them. Now,
y'all, that happens way more than you think in this area.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we have pill clinics, literally, that pop up. And people who have no medical experience whatsoever will contract with a doctor to just pump out pills. I mean, the drug problem in Eastern Kentucky is bad.
Yeah.
But that's an excessive amount of pills to be prescribed to somebody. Here's the twist. Christy Morris was dating a fellow cop.
Who was she dating?
I don't know that. But one of the times that he asked her for a prescription was at Jason Ellis's memorial. So I don't know how that could be a misunderstanding. I mean, if you don't normally ask your doctor for a prescription refill outside of the office.
At a funeral.
Yeah.
And now, see, I just wonder. No, I'm not gonna mention who I think, because I'm afraid that family will sue us.
Yeah, let's not.
But you know who I'm thinking.
I do know who you're thinking. And I'm sure if our listeners decide to dig a little deeper into that rabbit hole, they'll figure it out too.
Yeah.
So Tony and Christy both got 2 years probation, and Tony also got pretrial. He got pretrial aversion, where he had to go into counseling.
Yeah, pretrial aversion.
She didn't have to go into counseling. Well, it turned out that he was getting prescriptions from 4 different doctors and a dentist. And Christy. So, interesting turn of events? I think so.
Yeah.
So, no, I'll wait until we talk about the next two murders before I get into the chief of police changes and the mayor changes and
and we're already like 40 minutes into this episode.
Right, and we've not even gotten to the big case yet.
Happy 100th episode.
Yay. I have to edit this shit.
Okay, so do you want to go into the next murders?
Yes. Okay, so the next murders, Heather and I disagree about this. I don't know that there's really a connection. I think they might be. That, or at least not a connection strong enough that would resort in their murder.
Kathy and Samantha Netherland. Kathy was a special education teacher at Bardstown Elementary, where
the Ellis kids went.
Yeah, and she may or may not have been Hunter Ellis's special ed teacher.
Right. Her family says that Kathy was not the teacher to the Ellis son, and that there was rumors that Samantha babysat, and the family says that Samantha was not a babysitter for them. But I just know in my town, we have 4 elementary schools, and I believe we have maybe 2 special ed teachers per elementary school, one for behavior and one for learning disabilities. I believe.
My grade school had a couple different special ed teachers, and they taught different grade levels.
Yeah, so
chances are she was his teacher.
For at least a year.
I mean, regardless, she had to have known his mom, Amy, because Amy was a regular volunteer at the school, helping out in any capacity that she needed and substitute teaching.
Right, although I've been a substitute teacher and I didn't know any of the other teachers.
You're also not a joiner.
I was PTO president for 7 years.
That doesn't mean anything.
So, Samantha was 16. She was a sophomore at Bardstown High School. She was
an overachiever.
Oh, yeah. Member of the chorus, the Adventure Club, Young Leaders of America. Maybe not America, but Young Leaders Club. She had just got accepted to the Gatton Academy, which is a really, really big deal. It means that you forfeit your last 2 years of high school at your high school, and you get the opportunity to study at a college. So she was going to be starting at Western Kentucky University the next fall in their Gatton Academy program.
Yeah.
It was actually that year that the Craft Academy was announced here at Moorhead, and had it been a year later and had she not died, she could have gone to school with her sister.
Yeah. Who at the time was a student at Moorhead State University.
Right. So on April 22nd.
Well, actually, before that.
Okay.
This may or may not have been connected to their death. I found this actually on a internet message board, but I'm thinking that the original Facebook post has been deleted. Apparently on New Year's Eve, Kathy, Holly, and Samantha were at home together when they heard a noise. And they thought one of their cats had knocked something over. And it wasn't until later when Holly went out to check the mail that they noticed that their storm door, which was just a regular metal frame door with 2 panes of glass, one up top, one in the bottom, was shattered. Both pieces of the glass.
Right. And she had assumed that it was wind.
Yeah. Kathy posted it on her Facebook page, and everyone was like, hey, you should be worried about this. Maybe someone's, did this on purpose. And she's like, no. I think maybe it wasn't latched and it was just the wind.
Okay. Well, can I side note here?
Sure.
On my back door, I rarely latch my screen door on my back door unless unless I've let a dog out and I have to chase another dog through the house because he's an asshole and he doesn't want to go out with the rest of them. And then I will latch my screen door while I'm chasing a dog. But
you're talking about Hank?
Yes. But for the most part, my screen door, I hardly ever shut it. It has flapped in near tornado windy conditions. And that glass is not broken. So I'm just saying that a storm door is built for that. And that glass doesn't break that easy.
Well, the person who found this actually went above and beyond and searched weather patterns for Kentucky on that day. And the wind level in Bardstown was actually below average that day.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it could have been a random gust, but
yeah,
I don't know. And I'm not saying that that's connected, but it's definitely, I will say, red flag number 1 in this case.
Right. So, somebody broke into their house on April 22nd, 2014. Well, hold on. I guess how they were found is they didn't show up for school on the 22nd.
And the high school called the grade school, or the grade school called the high school. Anyway, they compared notes and was like, hey, both of these people are out.
That's not like them.
One of the schools called Kathy's dad because Kathy's husband, Samantha and Holly's dad, had actually passed away of colon cancer like a year before.
Right.
So they called Kathy's dad, and he was like, I'll go over and check on them. He gets over to their house, notices that Kathy's car is still in the driveway, so he lets himself in. And
Kathy is shot. Samantha has been beaten in the head.
And has slice marks around her neck.
Both of them had slice marks around their neck, yeah. And he doesn't mention anything about them being in chairs. But later we will hear about a jail informant who mentions a letter. And in that letter he says that Kathy and Samantha Netherland were murdered in a gang initiation and that they were tied to chairs and tortured. Holly was asked, Holly is the daughter that was at school at Moorhead, she was asked in an interview if she had heard anything about that. And she said that the cops did ask her about chair placement, but she didn't know anything else, and she did not want to talk about it. You could tell that it visibly upset her to have to think about this. The jailhouse informant also said that there was a cell phone jammer that was put near the front door to scramble their cell phone so they couldn't call 911. And that's why they didn't call out for help. But I thought this was funny. Like, the cops were like, we have no evidence that a cell phone jammer was used. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like it leaves a trace anywhere once it's gone.
Sometimes cops can be bumbling idiots.
Clearly. So, listen, people. If you want to know, let's say hypothetically, you are now terrified that a cell phone jammer is going to be used and somebody's going to break in and kill you. There's a way around this. Skype calls and like a text now call, or if you've got Google Voice, anything that uses a VoIP instead of a regular cell signal. You're welcome. And yes, I have all three on my phone. Because I am that level of paranoid.
Well, I mean, you are having issues with someone trying to get into your house, maybe.
I don't know that, but I have over the last several years had some issues, yes.
That person is in for a rude awakening if he ever breaches the door with you all home.
Seriously, my door is locked for your protection. Oh, I feel for them if they come in and I'm not here, because Sophie is big now and she is insanely protective of us.
But yeah. I mean, especially if like Hannah's there too. I'll just see your house on the news and I'll be like, crap, my sister's killed somebody.
Of the crimes, this one is kind of a reach to tie it to anything.
But it's definitely I think you have to take everything that jailhouse informants say with a big old salt block.
Right. And I mean, other than the cell phone jammer, he did not say anything that wasn't
suspected or common knowledge.
Right. And as far as the cell phone jammer, I mean, that could have been something that he pulled out of his ass, or that somebody, mentioned while they were in prison that would be a good thing to have or something. I mean, there's nothing that actually says that it happened.
No. But with it happening in such close proximity to the other murders, both in location and time, and how unusual it was for this random mother-daughter pair that was, well liked in their community.
Right. And they did nothing. Like, they were not into anything risky. They were not into, they were squeaky clean.
I mean, and this part of Bardstown is not really a break into someone's house for gang initiation type neighborhood.
Right.
And nothing was stolen from the house.
Right. So, I don't know.
We'll let you draw your own conclusions from this.
Right. So,
because really, this whole Bardstown murder case as a whole, all of the murders, is a draw your own conclusions at this point.
Right, because they're all unsolved.
And you know how much we love Unsolved.
I hate Unsolved.
I know there was a lot of speculation by some idiots in the world that Holly Netherland had her sister and her mother murdered so that she could get her dad's life insurance money.
Yeah, that's the dumbest thing ever. And in fact, she took almost all of her inheritance
and put it in a fund in, I'm blanking on what it's called. In the tip fund for information leading to the arrest of whoever killed her mom and sister.
Right.
Nearly $50,000.
I don't know. I feel like, it's a lot of deflection. Like, whoever would say something like that probably knows something. So let's blame it on the poor college student.
Yeah.
Who was 2 hours away at the time. Okay. Still, literally, we're just at the tip, guys. And I know we're almost an hour in.
We're at the point where we normally be ending our podcast.
I know. So I'm really wondering, like, should we power through this or what should we do?
Let's power through.
Okay. So, let me jump right into some corruption.
What's a 5-hour episode?
This is Kurt Cobain all over again. Okay. So, remember when we had Rick McCubbin, the police chief, saying that he was going to find the guy at all costs?
Yes.
Well, he retires soon after the murder. Well, like a year and a half later. He retires November 2016.
Well, at all cost. Or until my time's up.
Well, he was frustrated, and I understand his frustration. So you've got, at the time, actually, let's take it back just a little bit. 2007 to 2010, you've got this mayor who is a third-generation Bardstown mayor. Richard Heaton.
Which you also get a lot in small towns.
Yes.
Where political office is just passed from one generation to the next.
And by accounts, Richard Heaton seems like a good mayor. That was not the case in Rampant County, where we had, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on the witch's name. Kim Davis. Where Kim Davis pretty much inherited her position from her mother and then made Moorhead a laughingstock of the entire nation before we voted her out. But anyway, that's beside the point. So
it's okay. She's back at the Dairy Queen.
We got Richard Heaton, who he gets cancer, and so he doesn't run for office again. And in his place, well, not in his place, but the guy who gets mayor is Bill Shekels. And this is in 2010. And he's a 12-year city council member. He had a car lot and a restaurant, but he won with less than 200 votes, which is also a common thing in eastern Kentucky. Well, just in Kentucky, because they're not really eastern.
They're central.
Yeah, or maybe a little west. Central west, maybe. So for the first 2.5 years, nobody really says anything yay or nay about Bill Shekels until May of 2013, when Jason died and national attention started coming to the town. Well, and then, his nephew confessing to the murder. Well, there's a guy, John Royalty, who is a 5-term city council member, a former Lexington cop, a former Bardstown cop, fired from the Lexington Police Department because he pulled a gun on a person while off duty at a fast food restaurant. Do you remember that when that was in the news? And in 1998, he was fired from the Bardstown Police Department for violating the use of force policy. So, stand up, cop.
Yeah. Absolutely shouldn't have had a job.
No. But he runs for mayor. And he goes on and on and on about how Shekels is, terrible, and, Shekels is doing all of this stuff, and Shekels is autocratic, and, he's basically everything that he is, he's portraying onto Shekels. So he ends up getting elected as mayor. And when he's elected, this is also what kind of guy he is. He is complaining that Bardstown doesn't have a problem with racial profiling, and affirmative action is a bad thing because he has been a victim of reverse discrimination and wasn't given police jobs because he was white. Or maybe you weren't given police jobs because you fucking pull your gun on civilians in a restaurant.
Yeah. Maybe you wasn't getting a job because you're an idiot who shouldn't have a gun.
Right.
Listen, I am all for people, having weapons, but there are some idiots in this world who should not have access to anything sharper than a butter knife.
That's true. So he gets elected, and then he decides that he's going to make some changes to the Bardstown Police Department. He promotes 2 officers to senior positions. Okay, well, he's taken jobs. There's already people in those positions. So those people have to take either a demotion or they have to, or they resign.
Which does not make people happy.
No, that does not. But one of those people that he promoted was a man called Mackenzie Mattingly. They were friends. Remember that name, people. Well, McCubbins did not like that. Did not like the fact that he was not given any heads up on these changes that was happening. They were just announced. And he did not like the way that Royalty was heavy-handing his police department. So he retired. Guess who steps in as interim police chief?
Me.
Yes, no. Mackenzie Mattingly. Now, Mattingly, also a stand-up cop.
Those stand-up cops like to stick together.
Yes. As in, let me see. He was involved in, well, actually, let's go back to when he worked in Louisville in 2004. So, Mackenzie Mattingly was a cop in Louisville, and he shot and killed a black teenager while that teenager was fleeing. The Louisville Police Department said they would never recommend him for a job. Ever. That kid was not a risk to him or anyone else. Okay. So he goes to Bardstown and works.
I mean,
Louisville
made it pretty clear what type of person he was.
Right.
And Louisville is Louisville our biggest county? Is it biggest city?
Lexington likes to say they are, but they're not.
Well, I know that between like Lexington and Louisville fluctuates, but it's like minor fluctuations. Louisville, I think, like size wise, is a lot bigger than Lexington.
Yeah. So there is a man, Charles Lewis, who is suicidal. He is sitting outside his mother-in-law's house in his car, and he's threatened to kill himself. The police were negotiating with him, and it is on record that a cop said that he did not think that the man wanted to kill himself, that he just wanted somebody to listen to him, and that he thought that he was going to take the magazine out of his gun. Mackenzie Mattingly gets frustrated with how long this is taking and says that it's taking too long, they're using too much resources, so he insists that an officer drop a pepper spray canister into the car. So the officer does. Charles picks up the gun and shoots himself. The officers are wearing body cams, and it is on record everything that was done, everything that was said. There is an emergency meeting with Mattingly and officials where he says that we need to discontinue the use of body cams. And the very next day, body cams aren't used in the Bardstown Police Department anymore due to problems with the technology. I don't know if that problem was catching corrupt chief of police.
No, that's exactly what it was.
He didn't get fired.
Crap.
Oh yeah, he didn't get fired for this, by the way.
And if you're listening by any chance to this podcast, yeah, sorry. That move on your part speaks loud and clear to your character.
So
I probably just got us sued there.
Listen, everything that we just said is on record as being true.
He said it. He did it. That's what happened.
Cam evidence.
Yeah. Can't make this up.
So he doesn't lose his job over that. I'm trying to pull it up because I saved it on my computer, but my computer is weird. What he does get fired for is using a stolen trailer.
It's random.
Yes, it's very weird how this happened. So there was a trailer, like a, hauling stuff trailer, not like a living in trailer. And it goes missing from a man's house. And the the owner of the trailer sees it in Lowe's parking lot. And it was hooked to a gray Ford Explorer. He calls 911 And 911 is putting it in the computer that, they are, this man sees his trailer at Lowe's. And the 911 recording picks up, wait, that's Mackenzie Mattingly. He is on the phone with 911 dispatch when the police chief walks out and they are having a conversation, and 911 is recording this. And the gist of it is, the owner of the trailer asked him where he got it. And he says, I got it at the police department. And he says, has yours been stolen? And so the owner's like, yes, I swear to God. Then he points to several identifiers to confirm the trailer is his and that it was stolen from his yard. Dispatch then asked the man to let her speak to Mattingly, who advises the dispatch that he believed the trailer was recovered from a house, along with a lot of other stolen property. The trailer's owner was never located, though one person had come to look at it. It's attached to the Task Force Explorer, Mattingly tells the dispatcher. I'm towing it right now. The dispatcher wasn't aware that Mattingly was operating the vehicle with the trailer. Mattingly explained that he will get the owner's information and have him return the next day to get the trailer. We'll get it all sorted out, he said. It's not going anywhere. I've got it. This was on September 21st, 2016. Literally using stolen property. And that's what got him fired.
And a department vehicle, probably to haul personal stuff.
Correct. So, he was let go July 14th, 2017. And then a Steve Urim was, actually maybe he was not let go July 2017. Anyway, so Steve Urim was hired right after Mackenzie Mattingly. And then the mayor fired Steve Urim like a year after he was police chief. And the reason was that he was not doing a job sufficient to the mayor's standards. In September 2017, they hired a Kim. I'm sorry, Kim, I'm going to butcher your last name. Krazig. And as of July 6, 2017, they had 8 officers leave the police department. A fourth of their positions were gone. And Kim had to come in and hire people. To me, that says a lot. When you've got a high turnover like that, to me, it says that you are not being managed well at all.
Yeah.
So, John Royalty, it turns out, had been using his position to harass another city council member. He somehow got access to her personal emails and was disseminating them to people. He lied to city employees to get access to their iPads. There's just a lot of stuff that he did. And which is really funny because his platform was total transparency, when in fact...
Well, I mean, he was being totally transparent. That's why he was getting access to their emails and sharing them with everybody.
Yes.
He was making sure that emails were transparent.
Yeah. So, a petition went around demanding an investigation, and a 44-page report came out about Royalty, and he ended up, he got ousted. He, in October 2017, he was indicted on perjury, false swearing, 2 acts of official misconduct, in July 2018, he got a deferred sentence. He cannot violate any law. He can't run for office for the next 5 years. He agrees to dismiss any civil suit, and he agrees to waive the statute of limitation on his crimes. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me also go back and say that April 12th through 13th of 2017 is when the council had a hearing to remove him. But before that, he had signs removed that was pro this next murder that we're going to talk about. And basically the signs were like standing with the Ballards and solve these murders. And he said that they violated code because they were too close to the road. Yeah.
Okay. So then let's get into the next murders. Well, actually, let's get into the next disappearance.
Right, because
we don't know that the next person was murdered.
Right, and people, we still have 2 murders after her.
On July 3rd, 2015, a woman named Krista Rogers, who had 5 kids, 4 with her previous husband and 1 with her current partner. They were not married.
But they lived together and had for several years.
Texted one of her best friends, and she said that she found a babysitter and that her and her boyfriend, Brooks Houck, I will probably mispronounce his name more than once. I mean, it's you look at it and it's spelled funky.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so she says that she's excited that they finally have a night without kids. A much needed night without kids.
Yeah. It was 4th of July weekend. It's going to be a long weekend. And they were going to have a date night. I believe that she even texted her friend that they were going to go to his family's farm for a bit.
Yeah, which they do. There is a camera, not on the farm, but on a house near the farm. So we actually have lots of video of the comings and goings of this farm. And video shows that Crystal and Brooks went to the farm on July 3rd. And then I want to say around midnight, I could be wrong on the time, Brooks leaves. She's not in the car. He says that she stayed up late that night playing a game on her phone.
At their house.
And that the next day when he woke up...
You forgot something interesting. He also claims, and by claims I mean he told investigators this, that they did not go to the farm alone. That she had found a babysitter for her 4 other children, but that their 2-year-old son was with them.
Video says that was not true.
And he has no explanation for why she told her friends otherwise or why their child is not with them in videos.
Right. Okay, so he wakes up. She's not there.
So, I mean, right now we've already painted him. He's a liar. At least in those regards.
Yes. So he wakes up. She's not there. And he doesn't report her missing.
He tells investigators later that that is not a big deal. That she does this all the time. That her and her best friend,
who is her cousin,
go out to fantasy parties all the time.
Right. I don't know why, but I had this mental picture of like ponies, like my little like furry, like people dressing up
I
as
had
My
people
Little
dressing
Pony.
up like fairies dancing around a field.
Okay, yeah, and let me just say that none of that was ever written anywhere. I don't know why that just popped into my head.
And like her family and her friends are like, what in the world is he talking about?
Yeah. So
I don't even know if anybody's even found that there are fantasy parties in this area.
Yeah, I don't know. So he doesn't report her missing on the 4th. Her mom is trying to reach her. Her daughter is calling the grandmother. Have you seen Mom? Have you talked to Mom? I can't reach Mom. Finally, on the 5th, Sherry Ballard, Crystal's mom, tells Brooks that she's going to report her missing.
And tells him that he should be the one making the call.
Right. So, let me also say that he said he did call her twice on July 4th, but that he didn't keep calling her because in the past when she was mad at him, that constantly calling made it worse. Okay, that's totally believable because when I'm fighting with somebody and they keep calling me, it makes me ragey. But we really have no indication that they were fighting.
And, yeah, I mean, he's never even said that they had a fight.
Right. So, July 5th, Mom reports her missing, and her maroon Impala is found on the side of the road.
Like, not long after Mom reports her missing.
Right. Right off the Bluegrass Parkway.
Like,
so,
if Brooks had got his head out of his butt and went searching for his girlfriend that he claims he loves,
he would have seen her car.
I mean,
or if they just called it in, somebody
yeah,
would have seen her car.
A cop would have been, hey, that's the car that she was in. Let's stop. Inside the car, they find everything that she owns. I mean, like everything that a woman would take with her.
Right. Cell phone, purse.
Keys. Keys are in the ignition.
The weird thing about this car, though, is seat is pushed back and the seat is upright. So, like when I drive, when I drive, it is all the way up because I'm 4'10", and it's not straight up and down. Well, her car was pushed all the way back and it was straight up and down.
When I drive, my seat is pushed pretty far forward and my seat back is all the way up. I like a pretty straight seat.
I didn't know.
When my boyfriend drives the car, it is all the way back and the seat is leaned back. Because, I mean, he's 6'4".
Right. So
it's like that somebody other than her was driving her car.
Right. Reports keep saying, though, that the back tire was flat, but her brother says it was low. But it was not so low that it was not drivable, and that it was not like her at all to pull over on the side of the road and just leave her car. That she would have tried to have gotten somewhere safer to look at the tire. Okay, let me just go on record right now and say, if my tire is flat, I'm not pulling over randomly. Like, I would find somewhere safe to pull over. If I can't,
you will also not have a phone that has a dead battery.
Well, right, because I keep a charger cord in my car at all times, and it's just habit that I get in the car and I plug my phone in. Like, no matter what my percentage is at, that's just what I do.
Yeah, so I don't know if she didn't have a charger in her car, or
everybody should keep a charger.
Or if her phone went dead because it was left on.
Right.
Yeah, but her phone was dead when the police found her car.
So, the boyfriend was interviewed, and he mentioned several times in his interview with the detective that he does not have a lawyer because he has nothing to hide, which I commend him, but I also kind of wonder if that is a tactic, because he gets a phone call, and I'm going to play this phone call. He gets a phone call towards the end of the interview, because the interview ends shortly after this phone call. And I don't know, there's a part of me that if I was the detective, I would be like, put your damn phone away. You're not answering it right now.
But I kind of think that the detective was hoping that he would have gleaned something from the phone call that he could use.
Right, but nothing was used. So he gets a phone call. We're going to listen to this call. It is from his brother, Nick, who is an officer
For the Bardstown Police Department.
For the Bardstown Police Department. So let's listen to that.
Can I get this?
Sure, please.
Hello? No. I'm up here. I know that you didn't know. I'm up here in this interview with the Detective Snow. I've been up here a good little while. I'm filling out this statement here and everything. Are you telling me that's what I need to do? I know that. But the way that I look at it is, I'm innocent. I ain't done nothing wrong. I know you told me innocent people have got jammed up, but if you're telling me to leave, I'll get up and leave. If you want me to. I know I'm going through a lot, but I'm trying to get this guy to help me. I don't think she's ran off with some other guy. I don't believe that. You can't make me think that. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so do I. I'll do exactly what you're telling me to do right now. You want me to get up and leave? Man, I don't think these guys. I don't think these people have got a vindictive just to skin me for no reason. Man, this is not their family. This is not. All right, thank you. He thinks y'all are gonna fuck is what he thinks.
I don't know who he is.
Nick, my brother.
If you want to go, you're free.
No, I know it, but I'm not. He just said just to keep sitting up here, to give a statement, do an interview, whatever I got to do it. But he said, darn, just to keep letting them just beat you to death over this right here. Just ask what you got to ask and let you know.
And you tell me.
You see what I mean, he knows more about this than I do. You see what?
And have I told you that I'm for you?
Yes, you have.
I said, what did I say? My job is to find Crystal, right?
That's right.
However that happens, my job is to find her. Whether I find her hopefully alive and well and safe somewhere or not, my job is to find her. If I don't find her alive and well, my job is to prosecute the person that did something.
That's right.
If that turns out to be you, my job is to prosecute you. If that turns out to be someone else, my job is to prosecute them, to gather evidence for a lawyer, a prosecutor to prosecute them. I don't know whether that person will be you or not. Did I not tell you when you come in here and sit down today that right now you're the main person of interest?
Yes, that's right.
And I explained to you the reason that you're the main person of interest, right? You're the last person to see her alive, right? And I went through your timeline with you and explained to you that there's gaps in your timeline, right? Be it good, bad, or indifferent, you can't remember some things about Saturday, you can't remember some things about Sunday. That's not a judgment against you, that's just a fact. I am simply a fact finder. If you want to go, you may go at any time you wish to. I would never dream of stopping you, didn't tell you you had to stay. If you want to bring a lawyer in and answer questions with a lawyer, you're welcome to do that. I'd have been asking you the very same questions in front of your lawyer that I asked you today. Right? I have not given up hope of finding her alive. That being said, you know as well as I do, the longer this draws out, the less likely we are to find her alive unless she's run off somewhere. I mean, that's just a fact.
That's right.
That's just the facts as they are. I am not for you, I am not against you. I am not for her family or against her family. Right now, my job is to work for Crystal. Plain and simple. It's just that simple. If that means that I have to interrogate you, then that's what I have to do. You've been nothing but cooperative with me. I appreciate that. We've talked. This makes number 3? Third time?
I don't know. I can't.
3 times. Here, the first time. At your house, the second time. And here, the third time again. Not counting the polygraph, because I didn't ask you any questions then. You've not asked for a lawyer. You're right. That's your right to do. You're entitled to do that. If Nick thinks you should go and you want to take his advice, go ahead. It's fine. I'm not offended by that. My job is not to make you happy. My job is to find Crystal. If that makes you happy, awesome. You know, but make no mistake, my job is to find her. That's what I'm doing. If I offend people in the midst of that, well, I'll apologize later for offending people. If it finds her home safe, then I'll just take the blunt of offending people and go on. You know, just like what you said. What'd you say? Doesn't matter what they think of you, as long as we find her.
That's right.
So that being said, you know, you're free to take Nick's advice if he wants you to leave. I don't really have any more questions with you. I was just going to tell you where we go next.
All right, yeah, well, wrap it up and you tell me what we're doing next, and if it's over, it's maybe false alarm.
So, yeah, you know, here's what I'm looking at, right? I'm trying to find video of her car getting on the parkway, whether it's New Haven Road or 150, trying to find some video of her car getting on the parkway in hopes that it will reveal to us when it gets on the parkway, because there's some confusion about that. Some people calling in saying they saw it on Saturday, some people calling in saying they saw it on Sunday morning, some people calling in saying it wasn't there Saturday or Sunday morning. That's just the nature of the beast. When you put information out there, you get a lot of it back. So I'm trying to figure out when it got on the parkway, and if I can, who was driving it when it got on the parkway. Maybe she was driving it, maybe she wasn't. Maybe somebody else was driving it. I don't know. You know, maybe somebody stole it and it got a flat tire and they left it on the parkway. I have no idea. There's a million possibilities about how it got on there.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure that out. I would like to fill in the gaps in your timeline. I may be able to do that with the video at your aunt and uncle's house, because they may be able to show me when you came and went from the farm on Saturday, those kind of things. I'm probably going to interview your mom. I'm probably going to interview Nick and ask them, you know, if they were with you any time during that time. Maybe they have a little better memory of it. They can fill in those gaps. I'm probably going to interview the employees that called you Friday and Saturday, Friday evening and then Saturday, to interview them and ask them, you know, when you called him, what did you talk about? How long did you talk? Mr. Stanley or whatever his name is. You know, did he answer the phone? Did you all talk on Saturday morning? If you did, what did you talk about? Did you go see him? Those kinds of things to help me fill in your timeline, which gives me a better idea of whether or not you're involved in her disappearance. And that's what I do. So, and then once I've done as much as I feel like I can do, I'm going to move on to other things. I'll be honest. Beyond that, short of finding her somewhere, I've done about all the forensic countermeasures I can do. You know, we've gone through the car with a fine-tooth comb. We fingerprinted the car. We've gone through her purse. We're going to start going through bank records. You know, she did have an account. I know you told me you didn't know that she did or didn't. She did have an account of some sort. My understanding is maybe from a family member that there was some Social Security disability from Keith for the kids that maybe went into that account. Maybe that's the case. We'll kind of look into that. You know, we'll start questioning people about the validity of those kinds of things, about the apartment and those kind of things, and try to get a better idea if that's just a shady rumor or whatever, you know. But unfortunately, I've got to dispel all these rumors. You know, that's part of my job. We've got to either prove them, disprove them, or no, we can't do either. So that's where I'm at.
All right.
So I appreciate you coming in. If I ask you to come in again, or if I come see you, again, know that you're always welcome to tell me you don't want to talk to me anymore. That's perfectly okay. All right?
And we're back.
Not a big fan of Nick.
No. The interesting thing about the end of this interview that he has with the detective is that he leaves, and within an hour, him and his brother follow each other into the family farm.
The farm is pretty big.
Yes, there's video proof again. Remember, we said that there's a house that has a camera on it. Video proof of them pulling in one right after the other, as if they're following each other. They stay there for a couple of hours, and they leave at the exact same time. Both men in interviews have said that they do not remember being there at the same time, that it must be a coincidence that they showed up at the same time, and they don't remember what they did or said while they were there.
Hey, Holly, I'm not saying that they did anything, but can we make a promise that if we ever murder someone together, that we won't be so obvious?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Now, I mean, we know from listening to season 1 of Serial, I think that's a big, thing about that whole season 1 of Serial is that people don't remember everyday things. I mean, it's just a fact. You asked me what I did yesterday. I don't know. Unless something big happens to trigger your memory, like 4th of July weekend.
I don't know if I would remember if, my next door neighbor happened to pull in right after me.
But I would remember if you pulled in after me.
Exactly. But we live side by side. So, we come and go all the time.
Right.
Actually, I probably would because we park right next to each other. And sometimes it's a little tricky pulling into the carport together.
Right.
But, I mean, I think you would notice if I pulled into your driveway.
I would. More of a relation. I would remember if you and I both pulled in at the same time at Mom's because we don't live there.
Exactly.
And I can remember what you and I did the last time I saw you. Because it does not happen. It doesn't happen often. I mean, it's just one of those things that, something should trigger your memory that, okay, it's 4th of July. I kind of remember what I did 4th of July of last year.
Well, I mean,
I remember what we were doing 4th of July 2 years ago.
Hold on. If I just got interviewed by the police because, my boyfriend was missing and you worked for the police department, I think that I would seek you out.
Okay, yes, but you know what I would do? I would not call you while you were in your interview. Because the reason he said he called him was to tell him that they might try to trip him up and for him to watch himself. I would call you before you went into your interview.
Yeah.
And I would say, hey, Heather, be truthful. Don't lie. You don't have anything to hide.
Don't be nervous.
Don't be nervous. You got this. I would not assume that my coworkers are out to get you.
Yeah. But I mean, I would seek you out if this was our situation. I would seek you out definitely afterwards, sort of to decompress and be like, hey, this is what we talked about. Do you have any information about where he may be?
Okay, let's say hypothetically.
What do you know from the inside of this?
Hypothetically, they do show up there randomly, out of the blue, neither planned it.
Pulling in back to back.
I would still be like, tell me what happened in your interview. That's crazy. I mean, that doesn't seem like you're hiding.
To me, it seems more odd that they don't remember pulling in together. They don't remember seeing each other. They don't remember talking to each other. They don't remember.
It seemed that way to the officer, to the chief of police too, because they hauled Nick's cruiser in for testing. And they scheduled a polygraph test, which he didn't show up for. So one day he shows up for work and they sit him down for the polygraph, which he fails, and then argues with the polygraph administrator about how he is not a liar and he doesn't know why he just failed the polygraph.
I think he actually even tried to say in an interview that he didn't fail, it was inconclusive.
Brooks
failed.
Houck did do a polygraph and his was inconclusive.
I have taken a polygraph before, and I will say that polygraph test, even when you're not lying, is kind of a little bit nerve-wracking. Because you got straps across your chest, and you know how I've got really sensitive, skin, and if you touch me, I turn red. Well, my chest turned red, and he was like, "Your chest is turning red. You're lying, aren't you?" And I was like, "No, you touched my chest while you was trying to strap me in."
Mine does that same thing, and it's so crazy. I can't even put a seatbelt on without it looking like I've been in an accident or something. But then it goes away, just a couple seconds later. It's very weird.
Oh, hold on. I was being polygraphed not because of a criminal case. It was like some random work thing that actually was not even pertaining to any cases. It was just something they were doing for
work.
Yeah, I don't even remember why.
But I think it's important to add here that that neither Houck, actually nobody, has been charged with her disappearance. No, and while Brooks remains a suspect, he's never been convicted of anything. He's never been charged with anything. Nick's cruiser gets taken in. The trunk was sprayed with luminol. Inside the trunk was a blanket that came from the farm. The trunk, according to detectives, lit up like Chernobyl, which does not mean blood. It just means bodily fluids.
DNA. Yeah. Bodily, of some sort.
So, at one point in this interview where Nick is getting bent out of shape and the detective is like, well, I don't know, did you pee in the back of your in your truck? It's very I mean, that was funny. I thought that was, really lighten the mood.
I mean, I've known some cops that wouldn't put that past.
But they did not find any they didn't find any DNA of her in the trunk of the car. There was no hair. There was no fibers that said that, she had ever been in the trunk. It's just literally his trunk reacted to the luminol. And that's all the information we have.
As a result of him failing his polygraph test, though, Nick was terminated from the Bardstown PD.
Yep, they said that he was impeding.
Well, he was also he made it difficult for them to polygraph him, and he was just very difficult for them to interview, and he left him no choice.
So, an employee of Brooks Houck, Danny Singleton, actually lied under oath about
to the grand jury. Yeah. He was charged with 38 counts of perjury and eventually pled guilty to this, and he served 6 months in jail.
Right. So the 82-year-old grandma of Nick and Brooks also got involved.
Was served a subpoena.
Yes, because she had a white car that she had while Crystal was at the farm on the 3rd. And then shortly after, it got sold by Nick and Brooks.
And law enforcement wanted to question her about the car.
And she pled the 5th. The Brooks family farm and everybody's homes have been searched multiple times. Farm equipment has been
seized.
There's been nothing, and there's been no charges.
It's like Crystal has disappeared without a trace.
Literally. So then, on November 19th, 2016, Tommy Ballard, her dad, her parents never gave up, and her mom still hasn't, the fight to find her. And her dad was not going to stop looking, was not going to stop asking questions. He became paranoid. I mean, actually, I don't think it's paranoid when there's a reason, but he became very anxious, and
that somebody was out to
get him.
Yeah, and that someone was possibly following him too.
He had all family members put cameras around their houses. He had a dash cam on his car. But on November 19th, 2016, opening day of deer season, that means something in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's a holiday for us.
Yeah. He actually did not have a dash cam. He didn't have the dash cam on at this moment. He was taking one of Crystal's sons out hunting. And, okay, if you live in Kentucky, everybody knows you wear hunter orange, you follow safety. I mean, we are gun-toting hillbillies, but
we're safe about it.
For the most part, we're all safe about it. I mean, although we do have a stupid criminal from this week that was not very safe about it. Yeah, so I mean, like, especially our deer hunters, they've been doing it since they were kids with their parents, and you want to come out of the woods with a deer. You don't want to come out of the woods in a body bag. So you follow safety. He was actually in a field on a farm or on land that their family owned. It was private property. And that's another thing in Kentucky is you don't hunt on somebody else's property.
Without permission.
Right, especially not opening day. The Fish and Wildlife will get you. And
he actually was not very far from the location of where Crystal's car was found.
Right. And he was shot. One shot through the chest.
While standing in a field. Wearing his blaze orange.
Yeah, wearing blaze orange. Sounds like a technical shot to me. So,
now, every so often, you do have instances where a hunter will accidentally shoot another hunter. And in almost every case I can think of, that hunter comes forward.
Right. And says, I'm sorry.
It was me. I'm sorry. I screwed up. And throws his mercy upon the courts.
Nobody's ever come forward.
Yeah. I will say that in my mind, without any doubt, whoever is responsible for the disappearance of Crystal Rogers is responsible for Tommy.
Yep, and I remember when it was announced that Tommy Ballard was shot, Heather literally called me, and we hardly ever actually call each other.
No, I did not text her, I called her, and I was like, someone just killed Crystal Rogers' dad.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Like, I just couldn't even wrap my brain around it.
Yeah. We probably had like an hour conversation on the phone, like actual talking about the impact that this would have on the case.
Yeah. Now, this has actually nothing to do with the murders of this has nothing to do with Bardstown murders, but it's just a weird side thing that Tommy Ballard had a sister named Sherry Ballard, not to be confused with his wife, who went missing in 1979 at 19, and she was pregnant. And her body was found August 1983 on a farm close to where Crystal's car was found. But the crime was committed by her husband, Eddie Barnes, and his friend, George Weir.
Yeah.
They're both still in prison to this day. But I just thought that was a weird family thing.
Yeah.
So July 2017, Crystal Maupin was caught on tape taking down signs that was supporting the Ballard family. And there are some brutal signs that, like, Brooks Houck, where's Crystal? Aside from just the standing with the Ballard signs, there were signs that says solve these crimes. I mean, people are still up in arms there about these unsolved murders. On the 1-year anniversary of Tommy's death, there were new signs speculating that the Houcks had something to do with it pop up, and that's when Mayor Royalty had them removed.
I will tell you that you're right. Kathy and Samantha's case may not be tied in, but it may very well be in some weird way. But I believe that Jason Ellis knew of something crooked in Bardstown, either in drugs or in the police department itself. And that's why he was murdered. And I believe it probably had something to do with people that Crystal was connected with.
I agree.
And I believe that that's why Crystal was murdered, because she knew too much. And they could not let Crystal, they could not run the risk of Crystal walking away from them.
Truth. So, Tommy Ballard apparently got a letter right before his death from an inmate that said that he had information about these crimes. That he had been to the location where Crystal was chopped up and burned. And he actually, if you watch the Oxygen documentary about it, they actually, like the informant takes you right to the location. You know, it used to be a garage and then it burnt. That's suspicious. Was she there? I don't know. I don't know who used to own the garage, but I mean, in Kentucky, people change hands with stuff like that all the time. I don't know how much I believe the jailhouse informant. I don't. He claims that people have died because they knew too much. Okay, I believe that. He says that his cousin was friends with Crystal, and that's why he was coming forward, because the friend was also murdered. Or, I'm sorry, the cousin was also murdered. But he didn't ever give her name. And why is he coming forward now? Isn't he afraid that he's going to be murdered? I mean, he's actually in a place where he can't escape. You know, prisons are not that safe.
He's the most vulnerable.
Yeah. So he really has nothing to gain by coming forward. But he also really never gave any information that could convict anybody.
The Hoke family.
Hauk.
It's just oddly turned, the last name is. I have a hard time forming it. Of course, they adamantly protect their innocence to the point of taking Crystal's mother to court.
Yeah.
They have fought to deny her visitation with Crystal's son.
Well, I mean, that's petty Kentucky stuff too.
Because Brooks said that she was poisoning their son against him with talk of him being involved with their mother's disappearance.
You know, okay, I hate to say this. I'm going to agree with Brooks on that. I mean, as much as you dislike somebody, you can't say negative things about the parent to the kid. Especially when that kid has to go home with the parent. Like, I mean, she was really just setting that poor kid up for nightmares. I understand. She hates him. She thinks that he killed her daughter and husband.
Do we know for a fact that she was saying those things to the kid?
We don't. We don't know.
Or this is just something that he is telling social workers and the courts so that he can leverage what little bit of control he has left over this family.
That's true. We don't know either way. But I'm just saying that if you are getting divorced, or if you have somebody die, if there's a kid involved in anything, don't put the kid in between anything, please. No matter how much you hate somebody, no matter how much you feel like that person is bad or wrong or whatever, please, for the love of God, don't ever put a kid in between you two. Ever. That's my soapbox. It just causes more damage to that child than any good could possibly ever come. So I don't know that she was, but I'm not saying she was or not. I'm just saying that's bad road. Don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, and if she wasn't, and he's just using the kid as, a punishment tool.
He's guilty.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I have my suspicions about him anyway, but it's just suspicions. We don't know. And, I mean, if we don't find a body, we'll never know.
That's right. I feel we're going to know something, because that's something else about small town Kentucky, is that people stay quiet to protect their friends, but people fall out all the time.
Yeah. And eventually, the people you thought you was tight with, your BFFs, they're going to talk.
Yeah. I mean, you can't kill everybody.
I mean, you can, but eventually even big farms run out of places to hide bodies.
True.
I mean, I don't think there's too many mine shafts up in Nelson County.
People in Nelson County, if you need places to hide the body, come to Johnson. We got you covered.
Speaking of mine shafts, have you all watched my YouTube video on my reaction to the Hellier documentary?
Oh, you need to.
If you haven't, you really probably should, because it's good. So watch it, like right after you recover from listening to this marathon podcast.
Yeah.
And listen, people, I mean, we really just sort of, we've barely broken the surface of this case.
Oh, yeah. Okay, actually, I'm not even done. There's 2 more murders.
Oh, yeah.
Because
it's the case that just keeps going.
It's the case that never ends.
It goes on and on, my friends. I just started killing and then... Oh, sorry.
I mean, it's kind of like, and wait, there's more. How many bodies can we pile up? Okay, so this happened September 2016, and it has not been tied to the murders in Bardstown, but
none of them have been tied together. So
right, and when I found this in my research, something didn't sit right with me. So I feel like if we are going to,
we're already whole hogs, so we might as well go on in.
Right. Okay. So you got Linda Leslie, 27, and Julian Ramirez, 32, from Bardstown. But they spent the day gambling in Indiana because Kentucky has the Derby. We can gamble our asses off on the first weekend in May. Well, and any time that Churchill Downs or like the Red Mile or anything, like anytime that's open, we can gamble. But other than horse racing and the lottery, Kentucky
we can't do off-track betting or any of that fun stuff.
Kentucky doesn't like us to have any kind of fun. So we have to go to casinos in like Ohio or West Virginia or Indiana or in Ohio. So thankfully we're close to all 3 states. So Linda and Julian went to Indiana. And they spent the day gambling. At about 10 o'clock, Julian calls a coworker of his. They're roofers. And he says, hey, be ready at 7 a.m. Like this was at 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to drop some people off in Louisville. I'm coming back home tonight. So the 7 a.m. was they were going to get up and they were going to go do a job. Well, at 6:30 a.m., their car was found at 4800 South 3rd Street in Louisville. She was shot multiple times and he was shot once. The shots came from the inside of the vehicle. At about 11 o'clock, so an hour after that phone call was made, people in the area reported hearing gunshots, but this is Louisville and that's kind of common, so they didn't really... It really didn't pique anybody's interest as it should until 6:30 the next morning when their bodies were found. Completely unsolved like all the others. And really that's all the information I have about their case. And that saddens me so much. So I want to include them even though they were found in Louisville because it seems suspicious to me. Yeah, this is just a tip of the iceberg. There's so much stuff that we could say, but we will probably go in deeper later on, each individual murder, especially if there's any new information that comes up. I would love to do an episode when we solve, them all.
Yeah. I really feel it in my bones that all of these murders are linked. And I think that, I think that getting rid of Jason Ellis was the domino.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that there's still so little, whether there seems to be so little work being done on this case, in my mind, makes me think that there's still some corrupt individuals at play.
Right. But Sherry Ballard, if you ever get to listen to her speak, either like in a documentary or anything, like she has the cutest little voice ever, and I feel like she's not going to give up until it's solved. She's an awesome mom.
I mean, she's been devastated by this. She lost, her daughter and her husband 18 months apart.
Right. Yeah, so for those keeping track, we've had a murder a year since 2012 in Bardstown.
But not just you stole my cat, so I'm going to shoot you murder.
You steal my cat, I'm fucking shooting you.
A mysterious, unsolved, weird execution murder.
Yeah.
A year.
Okay, so you want to wrap this up here and do a stupid criminal?
I think we need to. Because
Alrighty.
we're at the 2-hour mark, Holly.
I'm tired. I'm tired thinking about editing this. Okay, so in Indiana, a unlicensed gun owner is...
I'm just going to assume that this Indiana person either was originally from Kentucky or his parents were originally from Kentucky.
Probably. Mark Anthony is his name. Mark Anthony Jones, sorry. He is from Marion, Indiana, and he was just out taking a stroll with his high .9mm in his waistband.
Y'all, that's a horrible way to carry.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I want to assume that he was also in sweatpants. But, I mean, it doesn't say that it was. Kind of like with the whole pony fantasy party. Like, I'm just imagining here.
So, I mean, when I'm carrying my waistband, I'm always wearing sweatpants. Because I don't have a pocket to stick it in.
The gun started to slip, and he reached down to adjust it, and it discharged, shooting himself just above the penis, and it exited out his scrotum.
Ouch.
Yeah. And again, he was unlicensed to carry the gun.
I just kind of hope in situations like that has rendered him unable to have children, because he might not be smart enough to have children.
Yeah. That's
because,
bad.
That's just, he's definitely not smart enough to have a gun.
Okay, well, because this shows up at the end of this article, I'm going to add it too, because Texans, you're better than this. What the hell? But last month, a Texas man was spinning his gun on his finger at his daughter's 16th birthday party and accidentally shot himself in his stomach. My God, if there's one state that is as gun
friendly.
I was starting to say prolific, but that's not it. Yeah, gun friendly as Kentucky, it's Texas. Sheesh. Oh. Well, in 2017, a Florida man sat on a gun and shot himself in the groin. He was from Jacksonville, and he was 38. So I guess we've got 3 stupid criminals.
Three people who shouldn't have guns.
Yeah, y'all are stupid.
Do me a favor, sell your guns. Go pawn them. Spend that money on something, that won't kill you. Like ice cream.
Yeah, really. All right. Okay, so YouTube channel, lots of good stuff happening, especially if you like paranormal.
Yeah, it's primarily paranormal focused, just because
Heather does it.
Yeah.
I mean, craft related. I'm going to be starting a YouTube channel in the next week or two. So, I mean, if you want to watch me do crafts, I'll let you know about that when it's up.
I've literally been trying to talk her into starting this channel for like what? Since you bought your house.
I know. If you just want to buy stuff from me so I can...
Maybe you can come down here and film us installing our new floor.
That would be great. I was wondering. Okay, so you can buy stuff from me in my Etsy shop, Cat Hair Glitter.
It is the official #1 sponsor of this podcast.
It is. It is how we pay the podcasting bills.
But if you have a shop and you would like to sponsor us, then, I mean, email us and we will
work something
totally
out.
get on that.
So, yeah, I guess that's where we're at today. Thank you so much for hanging with us for 2 hours.
If you had to take a break, we understand.
Yeah, I wish we could have taken a break. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Bye.